So, yesterday evening, the budget cuts, as they're called, once again happened with WWE, as 8 superstars were released. Among them was the rest of Hit Row, who barely had an opportunity to shine in WWE on SmackDown, being drafted there and everything. Other names were along the lines Tegan Knox, Jon Moxley, Drake Maverick, Jason Riker, a majority of them basically being former NXT talent, except for John Morrison being the one that came back and was immediately put onto the main roster. And when I saw this and heard about it, a lot of fans obviously were not happy by this turn of events. It's like, what is this company doing? Is what people want to know. It's like, what are they trying to accomplish by releasing almost very close to it 100 people? I mean, they are 25% away from 100% completion. 100% completion deletion, if you will, when it comes to various let-goes and cuts this year. Now, there were several things that I mentioned on Twitter in response to this. One of the major things that I said on Twitter, and I'll try to link it down here below, is there are 2 individuals in NXT that seem to have saw this coming and did whatever they could, put it in their contracts, whatever the case was, to make sure they would never get sent to the main roster. And that was Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. And both have made it very clear, been very adamant about it, that they do not want to go to Raw or SmackDown. And now I think we all know why they chose not to do that. Why they've been very adamant about, hey, let me stay in NXT, do not move me up. It's because they know what's going to happen. You see, these guys have experience in this business a lot longer than some of the men and women that did get sent to the main roster. And because they have that experience, they know when something's afoot. So to me, Johnny and Tommaso obviously saw the writing on the wall of what was going to happen. And this year pretty much clarified their fears. I mean, take a notice of a lot of the cuts that happened. Take a notice of a lot of them. Most of them have been associated with NXT. Most of them came from NXT. Most of them, had they stayed in NXT, would probably still be here in WWE. But because they got sent to the main roster, they ended up out of the hands of safety and into the hands of extinction. You see, Tommaso and Johnny, like I said, have been around a little longer than some of these men and women. And obviously they knew something was not right. And the way they started seeing some of the men and women that did get called up, get treated, and then eventually let go, they definitely knew something was up. They definitely felt that something was afoot that didn't smell right. What they basically knew and saw was, I think, what a lot of us are now realizing, and what a lot of these men and women that have been let go, from their contracts, that, immediately, immediately, I will say it this way, immediately after they were drafted or called up to the main roster, I think a lot of us, just like them, are starting to notice exactly what's going on. That the call-ups, or more specifically the draft, are nothing more than a trap. They are a trap to get them away from NXT, from Triple H, from Shawn Michaels, from the safety of protection, because of the fact that Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn, Bruce Pritchard, John Laurinaitis, and perhaps Nick Khan don't view them as sports entertainers. Don't view them as the kind of wrestlers that understand, oh, I'm in WWE, yes, I can wrestle, but I also got to come up with a gimmick. I got to come up with a gimmick that's entertaining and makes money. Because that's all they care about. That's all Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn, Bruce Pritchard, Johnny Laurinaitis, Nick Khan, they all care about is money, 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 money. I mean, think about it. You're Tegan Knox. You find out you're going to be let go. You're hearing rumblings you might get let go. You go to Vince and you say, what can I do to stay in this company? I want to be here. I want to contribute. And Vince goes up to you and says, well, Tegan, I want you to come out in gold leather and say, I am Fort Tegan Knox. I come from Fort Knox. I'm the richest woman in the world. And you start running out all this gold stuff to people. And let's say you're Tegan and he makes that same kind of suggestion. You're asking him, well, why would you call me? Why would you want me to do that? That sounds too gimmicky and all that, too cartoonish. And then Vince's answer is, well, that's the point. That's the point of it. It's a gimmick. It's a cartoonish gimmick that makes money. Makes money. And that's all that matters to them. It doesn't matter to them that you can compete in the ring, day in and day out, night in and night out. It doesn't matter to them. If you can be a great professional wrestler and all that, as well as a sports entertainer. They put sports entertainment, first and wrestling second. That's what they do. They put the sports entertainment aspect of the business first and the wrestling second. Because if you can be a sports entertainer, you can come up with a gimmick that makes money, you're safe. I mean, why do you think Shotzi Blackheart is pretty much probably safe? Because she has a gimmick where she comes out in a tank, where she got green hair and all that. And hey, she's got green hair. That makes money. That's a look. That's a gimmick. That's all they care about. Or you're someone like T-Bar, Divakovic, if you will. There's a guy that, obviously probably isn't, as good as he, is. Well, I'm not saying he's not good. He is. But pretty much, doesn't have much of a personality or a gimmick to him. But his size is what makes him stand out. And to Vince, size is a gimmick. And if he's a big man that can stand out in front of a crowd, that makes money. You see, the fact is this. If you are not someone that is willing to basically say, okay, what can I do to be a sports entertainer in WWE as, first and a wrestler second? If you don't have that mindset, you're pretty much looking at the exit door right in front of you. Like you're one step away from putting both feet out that door and going elsewhere. And again, I have to go back to Ciampa and Gargano. They see this. They know this. And obviously they've made some kind of deal to where, in the contract, some kind of adjustment in the contract to where they will not be put on the main roster no matter what the situation is, because they know exactly what's going to happen. And yeah, it might be salvation to them and to a lot of fans if it does, but they know exactly what's going to happen. I heard, Jim Cornette be a little disappointed in the fact that Roderick Strong remains in WWE, that he signed for another several years. I hear people are disappointed about Cesaro doing the same thing. And look, maybe they can be better elsewhere. There is no doubt. But when you look at Cesaro, you look at Strong, obviously Vince, Bruce, and all of them realize that these guys, in their minds, they get it. You can be a great professional wrestler, but you have to have a sports entertainment gimmick to go along with it, first and foremost. And when Roderick Strong probably agreed to be part of this Diamond Mine deal and be like the face of it, to them he understood the concept. He understood what his role was here in this company. You look at someone like Kushida and you think, oh, obviously he's got to be next on the chopping block in the future, right? But here's the thing. He has a time-traveling gimmick that he's brought with him from New Japan. And guess what? To someone like Vince, him and this other Japanese star who are now a tag team called the Time Jackets or something, to Vince, their gimmicks that they have, they're money makers. That even though they don't have nothing for them right now, as a team, but they might in the future, their look, the fact that they are very gimmicky and cartoony with what they do, that to Vince makes money. That to him, it makes money because they understand sports entertainment first, wrestler second. That's what it is. And that's why Johnny and Tommaso don't want to go to the main roster. You know, they don't want to go to Raw. They don't want to go to SmackDown. Even if maybe SmackDown is more of a safe haven than anything. Obviously not. But this is why they don't want to go. Because they know exactly what's in store for them. They know exactly what's going to possibly happen. Because they're seeing it happen to all their fellow colleagues. Yeah, I mean, yeah, is Johnny trying to embrace the sports entertainment side of things? Absolutely. He's trying to embrace it, but he knows that if he goes to the main roster while he's trying to embrace this sports entertainment deal, he may not make it. He may not make it, you know, any further than, you know, maybe a couple of matches on Raw and SmackDown and a pay-per-view here and there, and then that's it. Same with Tommaso Ciampa. They know better. They see it. This is why I'm sure they're talking to a lot of the men and women now in this new NXT 2.0, and they're telling them, hey, whatever you do, do not allow Vince or Bruce or any of them to take you up to Raw or SmackDown, because that could be it for you. Stay here in NXT till the time is right. And even if these men and women like Von Ragnar or Braun Breaker or this Lash Girl or whatever her name is, you know, even though they might be more prepared for that from a sports entertainment perspective, you know, they might be more prepared for the main roster, you know, who's to say they won't get cut the moment they show up? And that's the thing you have to look at. A lot of these cuts have been Triple H NXT talents. Now, some might say, oh, well, it's a business. You know, they should know better. They probably understand it, and it's just a business. And look, maybe some of them do. Some of them are taking it in stride. Some of them are like, yeah, it's fine. We had a great time. We accomplished stuff here. That's fine. No problem. I mean, Swerve, Isaiah Scott, Shane Strickland, he's taking it in stride. You know, he's just waiting for the 90 days to be up to see what's up next. Drake Maverick's taking it in stride. He's basically getting himself, you know, ready to become Rockstar Spud again. I mean, heck, he put out a freaking mini-movie, you know, moments after he got, you know, released, almost like he was ready for it. He was prepared for it. And and here's the thing, they're the only ones to say anything. I mean, there are a few others, don't get me wrong, but they're the only ones to really say anything. While the others that have said something here and there have kind of kept silent. Because maybe they understand. Maybe they believe the budget cut deal. And here's the thing about the budget cut deal. What is the reason for the cuts? What is the reason for the cuts? What is so necessary for them budget-wise to cut these talents? You know, is there something that they want to, you know, purchase or look into, invest into, so they need extra money that they already have? So to get that extra money, they need to cut talent? Okay, fine. Let us know what that is. Let us know that, oh, well, we're thinking of buying this huge, massive WrestleMania set for WrestleMania in Dallas for those 2 nights, so we need to get the extra money for it, so we need to cut these people to get that extra money. If you let us know it's about that, then fine, we can understand. Okay, that does cost a lot of money, so maybe talents need to be cut here and there. We get that. We would get that. We would understand that. But, you know, if you don't give us a true explanation as to what these budget cuts are, then sooner or later people are going to start looking at it as nothing more than a lie and an excuse. And let's say someone like Andrew Yang comes up and says, you know, and finally puts his foot down and says, you know, enough of this crap. I'm taking you guys to court. I want the truth. And he finally gets the truth out of them. And John Laurinaitis is like, oh, well, the budget cuts was an excuse we had to make, because if we told them we just didn't have no more use for them anymore, they'd be like, well, why did you sign us in the first place? Or maybe he'll say something like, oh, well, we cut some of these because they were Triple H's recruitments, and we wanted to teach Triple H a lesson that when you fail against AEW, you get severely punished. You know, if someone like Andrew Yang gets him into a position to where Laurinaitis or Pritchard or Dunn or even McMahon has to admit the truth, you know, in either one of those ways, well, or with either one of those kind of answers, then, obviously a lot of fans will be looking at each other and being like, yep, had that feeling. We knew that's what it was. And I could see someone like Bruce Pritchard being like, well, we could hire them back, and we might, and you know what, to make up for the fact that we don't want to cause any more trouble, we'll hire them back, and you know what, we'll let them wrestle, or we'll just say these are the wrestlers, and 205 is and 205 Live is the wrestling show of WWE, so there you go. It's just one of those situations to where, why are you even considering WWE as an option? Why are you considering it? I mean, Gable Stevens, I understand they're pushing him and everything, as the next Kurt Angle, but come on. Who's to say Gable Stevens won't be all elite a year from now? Or he won't be in MLW or Impact a year from now? Who's to say that won't happen? Because it probably will, the way they're going. Now, some people might come out and say, oh, well, maybe they might bring him back. Look at the time frame. And this is one thing I did point out, was the time frame. The time frame of the fact that a lot of these men and women were released, the recent, call-ups and draftees from NXT as well, are now under the 90-day non-compete clause. So guess what? They got between now and yesterday and, February 16th and 18th, before they can go and sign with AEW, Impact, MLW, PWG, New Japan, AAA. They have 90 days. They have 90 days before they can do that. And guess what WWE could do? They could come up with an excuse once, people start calling them out. Maybe even people like Andrew Yang, starts calling them out. They can come up with an excuse and say, oh, you know what? Well, we've caught up financially. The budget's all caught up now, and we want to bring you all back and everything. We want to re-sign you guys and bring you all back. And a lot of these people will be like, nah, we don't want to go. Why do you want us to come back? What, so you can fire us again? And, one thing about WWE, they have a way with words. They can come up and say, you can have Bruce Pritchard be like, oh, no, we're not going to fire you. We were just budgeting for a little bit. We just wanted to make sure everything was budgeted out and everything was fine, but everything was financially fine. And it is now, and it is. And we're going to bring you back. And you know what? We'll put it in writing. We'll put it in contracts. We're never going to fire you guys again unless there's a legit reason. And the only reason they would come up with an excuse like that, is to cover their ass. That's all they would do. I mean, don't be surprised that the first batch of releases that we got, in this month, or in the past month, along with these, don't be surprised if most of these men and women come back in time for the Rumble. Because again, you look at the time frame, and there's plenty of time between now and the Rumble for WWE to say, Keith Lee, we're bringing you back. Tegan Knox, we're bringing you back. Frankie Monet, Taya Valkyrie, we're bringing you back. John Morrison, we're bringing you back. Hit Row, we're bringing you back. B-Fab, we're bringing you back. They have enough time between now and then to bring them in for the Rumble, and maybe re-sign them. Maybe even, like I said, have a way with words of apologizing for releasing them and not realizing that, okay, we kind of made a mistake and all that. I mean, here's the thing. Like I said, they have a way with words. They'll sweet talk them if they will attempt to sweet talk them and say, yeah, we're gonna bring you back now because we thought we thought we had the budget cut and we were wrong. They'll sweet talk them all they want. They will do it. They will do it. And you know what will happen? Unfortunately, some of these men and women that got released will buy into it. They will buy into it and they will come back because WWE has a way with words. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if this happens because the timing right now, it just works. It just works for WWE. Now, if I'm Tony Khan or I'm Anthem Sports or I'm the people in charge at MLW or AAA New Japan, I'm getting on the phone with these people right now. And I'm saying, I'm going to sign you to a contract right now. I am. I will sign you to a contract, but I will legally make sure it doesn't go into effect until, February 16th doesn't go officially into effect legally until between February 16th and 18th. And guess what? They can do that. They could actually do that from a legal standpoint. They could sign people to a contract so that if WWE tries to sign them back, they could say, too late, we signed with somebody else. And they'll be like, how? When? The 90 days ain't up. and they could probably produce the contract, in some shape, form, or fashion, and say, yeah, you see this? This is my new contract with AEW, with New Japan, MLW, Impact, whatever place they go to, and they say, and oh, by the way, as you could tell, it doesn't legally go into effect till a couple of weeks from now. So basically means you can't sign me because I'm now with them, but I legally can't appear for them until this time frame. And legally they can do that. Legally they can do that. It can happen. Companies can do that. They can sign you to a contract, but that contract does not have to go into effect until next year. Or until the non-compete clause is up. So if, let's say, WWE tries to sign them, like I said, WWE can't because they will legally be under contract to somebody else, but the legality of the contract that they sign doesn't allow them to appear or compete until the 90 days is up. So even though WWE tries to sign them, they can't. And companies can legally do that. If AEW wants Keith Lee, they could sign Keith Lee to a multi-year contract, and legally he can't be with them until February. So if WWE tries to get Keith Lee back for the Rumble, Keith will say, I can't. I'm All Elite now. And if they come out and say, well, how's that possible? And he could produce the contract and show them, like I said, from a legal standpoint, that he's under contract to All Elite Wrestling, but it doesn't officially start until this time frame, and there's nothing WWE can do about it. So either way, no matter what WWE would try to do, they can't get these people back, or they wouldn't be able to get these people back. But here's the thing: if I'm WWE, I pray something like that doesn't happen. I pray something like that doesn't happen, so I can use my sweet talk to bring these people back. Because again, you take a look at the timing, the time frame. It makes a lot of sense for WWE to make themselves look good when it comes to a big event like the Rumble, to bring a lot of these people back, to sweet talk them into coming back. And again, like I said, the shameful thing about it is a lot of them will buy into it. They'll buy into the sweet talk, and they will come back. They will come back. And WWE will do that as well to start the new year off fresh, and also to make themselves look good. They will do it. They will do it. And again, going back to what I said earlier, Gargano and Ciampa, they see this, and they know that if they allow themselves to go to the main roster, they'll be in the same position. Which is why contractually they basically said, no, we're standing our grounds, we're staying in NXT until our contracts are up, and either staying here is going to make us either resign and remain with the NXT brand, or it's going to allow us, after our contract is up, to go elsewhere. I mean, this is why a lot of people are hoping when Kyle O'Reilly's contract comes up in the next month or so, along with Johnny Gargano's in the next couple of months, that they go All Elite. That they leave and they go All Elite with people like Kevin Owens, Kevin's team, and a few others, because they would believe and feel, that being the fans, that these guys would be more appreciated there. And maybe Gargano and Riley and Steen, well, mostly Riley and Gargano, would feel like, hey, we'll be able to be ourselves again, or have a little bit more freedom. And when you think about it, staying in NXT is a smart move for them. Because, yeah, maybe they'll have to wait 30 days, or maybe they do what Adam Cole did. Adam Cole could, just remain, Adam Cole remained for the duration of his contract, and even wrestled, even did an extension with his contract, basically wrestled during the 30 days after his contract officially expired, so that he can have freedom to show up in AEW All Out, in which he did. And Gargano and Riley could do the same thing. Ciampa, when the time comes, can do the same thing. So that way there will be no reason or no excuse or no, opening for WWE to try to re-sign them. So the thing is, when I look at yesterday's releases, I look at nothing more than these releases all being part of a trap. A manipulative trap that WWE is orchestrating, and that when the time is right, and people start calling them out more so as time goes on, looking at the time frame, the timetable, they'll be able to reach out to these men and women and say, hey, we made a mistake, we shouldn't have cut you, we apologize, we want to bring it back, and we're going to let you have this and that. They'll basically sweet talk them into coming back And again, what I said earlier, unfortunately, there will be a lot of them that will buy into it. But when it comes to people like Gargano and Ciampa and Riley, they know better. They know that if they allow themselves to be put up to that main roster, they're screwed. They could end up in the same predicament. They don't want that. They want an opportunity to be in a place where they can learn to rest, where they can continue being themselves somewhat, where they can embrace somewhat of the sports entertainment, side of things, but also hopefully, but also I should say, and obviously have the opportunity when it arises to possibly, when it's all said and done for them, go elsewhere without a problem, after 1 month of waiting. So to me, Ciampa and Gargano, they knew what was going to happen. That's why, like I said, they stayed in NXT, and good for them for doing so. And you know what? I'm going to put it this way. I'm going to put it this way. If I'm anybody else in NXT right now, especially the new people of NXT 2.0, let me make this perfectly clear to you. Let me make it perfectly clear to you. Do not, and I repeat, do not allow Vince, Bruce, Leonidas, or Dunn, or even Nick Khan, to call you to the main roster. Because even though you might be their projects, you're nobody from NXT, no matter what version or era, is safe. Because you get called up, you're going to be falling for a trap. A trap that's manipulative in every way. So if I'm you, I stay put in NXT, and I don't allow me to be called up. Because obviously what will happen won't be pretty. So I give credit to Gargano and Ciampa for standing their ground, because they know. They already knew what was going to happen. They already knew. But yeah, WWE, I'm going to put it this way. You keep doing this, and the attendance you have right now for your live events and for your weekly shows and your pay-per-views, you're starting to notice that even though it's still kind of up, that they're going down casually, right? That they're going down very casually, week by week, night by night, month by month. So if I'm you, WWE, and I don't want a huge drop in attendance or viewership, if I'm you, WWE, I knock this shit off. And even if you do bring these people back, and you re-sign them, you sweet-talk them, if I'm you and I want to keep people happy, keep the fans happy, keep the attendance up, keep the viewership up, or try to get it up, if I'm you and I sweet-talk these people back in time for the Rumble, I would not release them ever again. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on this whole situation with WWE releasing a few more talents yesterday? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Check out the Teespring store. Also check me out at BW Rosa's Discussions on all your favorite audio podcast locations, except for Pandora. Also check me out at BW Rosas on VENMO. Also check me out at patreon.com/BW Rosas. And check me out at Venmo if you want to help donate in one of those two areas financially. But let me know what your thoughts are on this, and I'm out.